Tesla Supercharger extension cables are currently all the rage in the electric vehicle industry. EV owners from California to New York are rushing out to scoop these things up before they're all sold out. Well, that's not exactly true, but now that I have your attention, perhaps you'll stick around and watch my review of the Hansshow NACS to CCS1 Tesla Supercharger extension cable. In this video, I'm going to talk about who the potential customers may be, why there is even such a thing as a Tesla Supercharger extension cable, and then I'm going to take the unit out to a Tesla Supercharger and stress test it with my Rivian R1S and Ford F-150 Lightning. If you're a follower here of State of Charge, you've probably seen that I've done 2 review videos of this product already. One was their first generation unit, which had some serious safety flaws. Hansshow quickly corrected those safety flaws, sent me a prototype of their Gen 2 product, which is what I have here. I made a video of that about 4 or 5 months ago. Now I have the production version of that Gen 2 product that I tested the prototype a couple of months ago. It was vastly improved over that first gen that I basically told my followers, do not purchase, this thing is not safe. So we're going to talk about the safety aspects of it. And as I said, I'm going to stress test it at a Tesla Supercharger. A little over 8 minutes into the charging session and charging stopped. Hopefully I won't have any issues, I won't see any red flags, and then I'll come back to the State of Charge garage, do a summary, and let you know how you can purchase it and how you can save 20% on this item with the State of Charge coupon code. Let's get into it. All right, so first off, let's quickly talk about why is there even such a thing as a Tesla Supercharger extension cable. Tesla Superchargers have been around for like 14 years, and we never needed them before. Why do we need them all of a sudden now? Well, it's because a couple of years ago, Tesla opened up its Supercharger network to other brands. And one at a time, every other electric vehicle manufacturer accepted Tesla's invitation, made their vehicles accessible to Tesla Superchargers with an adapter though, because all of the other electric vehicles used the CCS1 charging port, which this is a CCS1 connector. Well, I'll say all of them except, say, Nissan with the Nissan Leaf that used the CHAdeMO standard. But the vast majority, 90+% of the electric vehicles on the road that aren't Teslas use the CCS1 inlet. So in order for these manufacturers to use Tesla Superchargers or to let their customers use Tesla Superchargers, they use an adapter. So these adapters started coming out, these NACS to CCS1 adapters. I reviewed a ton of them here. I have a lot of recommendations here on the channel if you're interested in a NACS to CCS1 adapter. But that didn't solve the entire problem. Yes, the vehicles now will charge on Tesla Superchargers. However, the way Tesla designed their Supercharger stations, they designed them perfectly for Tesla vehicles. All Tesla vehicles have their charge port on the rear left side of the vehicle. So a customer just backs in, they grab the Supercharger cable, and they plug it into the rear of their Tesla vehicle. And the Tesla Supercharger cables are short. They're only about 6 feet long. Now they have a new generation, they're called the V4 Superchargers, their 4th generation. They have longer cables because those were started to be installed once Tesla had already opened up the Supercharger network. But the vast majority of Tesla Superchargers have these short cables on their V2 and V3 Superchargers. The other manufacturers can't use V2 Superchargers, but they're slowly becoming extinct. Tesla's upgrading them. The vast majority of Superchargers out there today are V3s that have the shorter cable, and they are accessible for other makes. And because the other makes don't have their charge port located where Tesla does, in the rear left side of the vehicle, the problem is when they pull up to a Tesla Supercharger, the cable won't reach their charge port. The only way it'll reach is if they park in the stall next to the proper stall for that Supercharger. So you're essentially taking up 2 stalls to charge your electric vehicle. Now, there's a few reasons why that isn't ideal. Number one, you're taking up 2 stalls, and there's times when the sites are busy, and to take up 2 stalls just to charge 1 car is not ideal. Tesla owners don't really appreciate that, but that's, they have to deal with it. Tesla opened up the Supercharger network. But the problem becomes when it's a busy supercharger, you can't get 2 stalls open next to each other at the same time, because as a car pulls out, another car in the queue pulls in. So now it becomes a problem for you. You're not creating a problem for other people by taking up 2 stalls. You can't plug in. And then another instance is if you have a truck or your vehicle is trailering something, that's a problem pulling into the stall, depending on how the stall is set up. So if you did have some sort of extension cable, you might be able to park sideways at the end and have the extension cable reach. So it just gives you more charging options. As I said, this isn't for everybody. Most people that have non-Tesla vehicles and charge at Tesla superchargers have been able to work this out, and they wait for their turn. They wait to get 2 stalls open next to each other, or they wait for the farmost right stall and they park, if there's a parking space, to the right of the last charger, and they're able to plug in and only take up 1 stall. They've made it work. But there are some people that don't want to have to deal with any of that and say, if I can get an extension cable and can park to the side of the stall if I'm trailering something, when I do go, I can only take up 1 stall. I'd like to get one. So the market was created for these. This wasn't done in a vacuum. People were asking for it. So companies are starting to put these out. And Hansshow was the first company to actually put one out for sale. And I got the first version back last summer. It's about 10 months ago now. I think it was in last August I reviewed it. And I basically said, this is not a safe product. Do not buy it. For a number of reasons. Number one, the cable was overheating. It was getting exceedingly hot, over 130 degrees Fahrenheit while I was charging. It exceeded UL 2252 electric vehicle charging adapter standards. And also the bigger problem was that on the original unit, when you inserted the NACS connector, if you pressed the switch, it would release the connector, but it didn't shut off charging. So just the act of pressing in the switch did nothing. The vehicle would continue to charge. And as soon as you started pulling it out, you could have a serious arc event. On the new version 2 extension cable, as soon as you press the switch, charging stops before you can even pull the connector out. That's a much safer and better design. The way the first generation was, it was completely unsafe. Hansshow did mention, do not do this in the owner's guide, but people don't read owner's manuals, and I'm sure they were going to do this, and it was going to create a tremendous arc when you released the connector while you were charging at extremely high voltage. I still don't recommend using this to stop the charging session. You still should stop it through your app or your vehicle and wait a second or two before you disconnect everything. And also pressing the button here on the CCS1 side also stops charging. I mean, you could perhaps press this, wait a second, and then do it, but it still is better to do it through your app or your vehicle itself. So after I put out that review, Hansshow contacted me and said, look, we recognize maybe we rushed this to market. We're gonna change it. We're gonna make it safer. Would you review the revised version? I said, sure. So they sent me one last December. I put out another video, and that was with a prototype of the Gen 2 product. It wasn't their production version, but they wanted to get it to me as soon as possible. I reviewed it. It was much improved. The temperature on the cable and the connectors was lower. It's a better cable they used. It had the proper safety shut-off switches on the end, which you see here. So I reviewed it and said, look, much improved. I'm not going to tell followers to go out and buy this. If you need or want one of these, but I just wanted to make sure that it met a minimum safety level, and I thought that it did when I did that review. So now they sent me the production version. It's basically the same. The materials used are a little bit different on this than the prototype that they sent me before. So I got this a few weeks ago. I actually used it once or twice really quickly just to test the safety switches, and they all work. They shut off as they're supposed to. But I needed to take an hour or so of my time to do a real complete stress test, which I'm going to do right now after I complete filming this intro. I'm going to take it to a Tesla Supercharger with my Rivian R1S and my Ford F-150 Lightning. They're both very low state of charge now, under 20%. I'll probably get to the chargers at around 15%. I might drive a little bit, so they both are at 15% when I plug in. And I want to do a half an hour charging session with the Rivian first, and then immediately unplug and plug in the Lightning and do a half an hour. I want to do a stress test on this because this cable is rated for 1,000 volts, 350 amps, and I think a continuous 250 kilowatt draw. Now, I'm not going to do a continuous 250 kilowatt draw, but both vehicles, the Rivian's going to pull a little over 200 kilowatts. My Lightning's going to pull around 180, something like that. But they're both going to be pulling 500 amps. And this only has a continuous load rating for 350 amps. But there is a lot of electric vehicles out there that pull 500 amps. So I want to make sure that even after continued use, pulling 500 amps, for maybe 10 minutes on the Rivian, maybe 10 minutes on the Lightning, and then charging, that it doesn't overheat, it doesn't shut off, it doesn't have any problems, doesn't throw any red flags. So that's what we're going to do here today. It's really a stress test for the product because I've done other testing with it, and it has worked so far. I used the prototype with my Lightning at least a dozen times now, just testing out, and it seemed to work fine. I didn't have any problems with it. But I want to go back to back to really stress this thing out for a solid hour of charging at a high rate. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to head up to a Tesla Supercharger and stress test this guy. Let's do it. Today's video is sponsored by EVChargingStations.com. If you drive an electric vehicle or you're planning to, this site is packed with comprehensive charger reviews, detailed DC fast charging graphs, and the latest news from all of the fast charging networks. You'll find real-world testing, easy to understand comparison, and deep dives into how different electric vehicles actually charge. Before you buy an EV charger or plan your next road trip, make sure to bookmark EVChargingStations.com and make smarter charging decisions. All right, so I'm up here at my local Tesla Supercharger, and I've brought both my Rivian R1S and my Ford F-150 Lightning. Both vehicles are exactly at 15% state of charge. So what I'm going to do is plug in both vehicles. Well, the Rivian first. I'm going to charge for 30 minutes. Then I'm going to unplug the Rivian, quickly pull the Lightning in, try to have as little time as possible in between, and then plug the Lightning in and let it charge for 30 minutes. So the Hansshow extender cable will be having power pass through it for an hour straight. Now, in the beginning of each charging session, both vehicles are going to call for 500 amps. Now, they don't do it for very long. Both of them are going to call for 500 amps for less than 10 minutes. But that's really what I want to see. I want to see how the unit handles a full 500 amps. And that's another reason why I'm only going to charge for 30 minutes, and I'm not going to say charge to 80%, because as the state of charge increases, the amperage draw is going to lower, and that's not really stressing the cable. That's why I figure a half an hour and a half an hour is going to really give the thing a workout. Now, I'm not too concerned with the testing if it reaches. I know this is going to reach. This long cable, I've tested it before. It will reach with any vehicle and allow you to park in the proper Tesla Supercharger stall. As you can see here, I'm parked in this stall. I'm going to use this Supercharger here, which is the right stall. And as you'll see in a second, it easily reaches the Rivian's charge port with this cable. And the Rivian, even though it is a wide vehicle, the charge port's all the way up here in the front. So it's not one of the, let's say, worse electric vehicles that have issues at Tesla Superchargers. Some of the electric vehicles, like my Lightning, have the charge port all the way back here. Now you've got to go from the charger all the way around to here. So those are the ones that are a little bit more problematic. But again, as I mentioned, with this long extension cable, you can park any electric vehicle in the proper Tesla Supercharger stall, and it will reach. I've tested that before. With that said, let's get the stress test going. I tell you, this thing is heavy. So first we're going to plug in the Tesla NACS side. Oops, wrong way. Had it upside down. And now I'm going to test it for the locking mechanism, which was a problem, if you recall, on the first generation of this product. It's not releasing. You have to press this tab here and then it'll release. Once it's locked in, that's working. Okay. That's very important. Okay, let me plug it in. Let me activate this charging session. I am at stall 2C. Start charging. Okay, so what we're going to do now is monitor the charging for a half an hour and see how much the state of charge is added in 30 minutes. Then I'm going to quickly swap the vehicles out and do 1 hour stress test. All right, so we started at 15% state of charge, and the Rivian was accepting maximum amperage, 500 amps. Did so for about 7.5 minutes before it started ramping down. Now, usually I see it hold full amperage a little bit longer than that, but that wasn't really a big concern. However, a couple of minutes later, I got the charging speed reduced, limited by charging station message. So I knew something was going on at that point. And then unfortunately, after only 17 minutes of charging shut off at 51% state of charge. And that was a big disappointment. All right, so I have an update. The Rivian charged for 17 minutes. Charging then stopped. So right now we're not charging. I'm going to unplug and plug it back in, see if we can initiate a new charging session and charge that remaining 13 minutes. Now, one thing I will note is I've been monitoring the temperature of the CCS1 connector as well as the NACS end of this extension cable, and it was fine. I mean, even now, I feel this, it's just a little warm. It's not hot at all. That was one of the concerns that I had. In fact, the Tesla connector was about 20 degrees warmer than the NACS inlet end of this extension cable the whole time. So it never even reached 100 degrees, either end of this. So I don't think it was a temperature issue unless it's something in the pins or the Tesla connector itself overheated. But let's plug it back in now and see if we can initiate a new charging session. Okay. Okay, let's see. No, the Rivian inlet still has the red ring of death around it. So the Rivian does not want to continue charging with the Hansshow extension cable. It allowed it to charge for 17 minutes, but now it's saying no more. All right, so what I'm going to do now is unplug this, pull my Lightning in, see if we can continue charging on that. Okay, now let me get the Lightning plugged in quickly so we could retain whatever heat was already there. Now I have plug-in charge, so the Lightning is going to just automatically start charging. Hopefully we can get a 30-minute charging session out of this. I'm not sure exactly what went wrong with the Rivian, but the Rivian did not want to accept power through that extension cable any longer. Okay, checking back in, a little over 8 minutes into the charging session and charging stopped. So the Lightning isn't happy with the Hansshow extension cable either. Now, just to rule out that it was this specific charging stall, I'm gonna move the truck over a couple of stalls and try it again. But I've charged my Lightning and my Rivian at these chargers up here. This is the closest supercharger to my house many times. Never had charging shut off mid-session, but it could be an issue with the charger. So let's move over and plug back in and see if we can't continue the rest of this charging session. Okay, so I've plugged in to this stall 2 stalls over. I want to monitor the charging. Okay, nothing yet. And this is, yeah, 2A. And we're getting the red ring of death on the charge port. So the Lightning doesn't want to accept power either through the Hansshow extension cable. Like the Rivian, it did for a short period of time, then faulted out. So this is a big fail for the extension cable. Interesting thing is, the previous versions that I have tested, their pre-production model, and even the original one that didn't have proper interlocks for the connectors, those seem to work better than this production version. Maybe I just got a bad one, but it faulted out on both the vehicles. So we'll head back to the State of Charge garage and talk about this. All right, well, that was a little disappointing and surprising, actually, because as I mentioned, the prototype of this cable that they sent me months ago seemed to be working fine. I've used it many times. I don't know if I use it on the Rivian. I know I've used it on the Lightning multiple times because I left it in the Lightning and never had a problem with it. So is this specific unit faulty? I did reach out to Hansshow and explain what happened. Told them I was going to be posting this video and saying that it wasn't working. And they were very surprised, and they said, please send it back to us, which I will. I'll pack it back up in the box and send it back to them. And they said they're going to send me a new one, and they're going to inspect this and see what went wrong with it. I don't know what's going on. I can only assume that the Tesla connector itself was overheating and shutting off. Because as I mentioned, I was monitoring the temperature of the cable, both ends, and the Tesla connector. And the Tesla connector was getting hot, much hotter than this. But I can't read inside. I'm reading the outside of it, so it could be getting very hot on the pins. And that's what caused the Tesla Supercharger to say, okay, this is getting too hot, and shut off charging with both vehicles. So I don't know. That's what I'm going to go on by now. We'll get another one. I thought this was going to be the last video. This is my third Hansshow extension cable video. But I guess I'm going to be making one more when I get it. I'm going to test it out again. And on that one, I'm going to do at least what I did this time with a Rivian and a Lightning. I'll see if I can get my Equinox 2 and do all three. I just got to get somebody else to drive up there with me and make sure I have 3 cars at once and really put it through a tough stress test, because that's what I want to find out. I mean, the thing is rated for 350 amps and 250 kilowatt charging. I really want to stress it and hit it with 500 amps for a continued period of time, because that's what's going to happen. I mean, if you have a Porsche vehicle or a Lucid vehicle, they're going to pull high amperage for a long time and take in more than 250 kilowatt for extended periods of time. What happens? How does it react when that happens? So, I'm not interested in seeing how this works on some of the lower amperage EVs that are going to be pulling, 150 kilowatts for 40 minutes. It's not going to have a problem with that. I'm curious to see what happens when we're pulling, 400, 500 amps, somewhere in that area for extended periods of time, because that's where the safety could be a problem. Now, they did fix their original safety problem. This now shuts off charging, which, it absolutely has to. That's a minimum bar for safety, that both of these buttons here have to stop charging. You can't be able to unplug something like this while the vehicle's actively charging. That's an incredible issue that I can't believe that the company actually was going to sell this first version with that feature. So I'm glad that they upgraded it and added this safety switch, the shutoff switch. So, all right, well, that's pretty much what I have here today. I didn't talk about price because, you know, I don't think based on this review, many people are going to rush out and buy it. But they do have two versions. One's a 5-foot version, and that's $629. And then they have the 8-foot version, which we have here, which is $729. That's the game there. Get the 8-foot version for $729. It's only $100 more. You get 3 more feet. And honestly, the 5-foot version is too short. It really, I don't think many electric vehicles will be able to connect with that. A few of them will, but most need at least 6 feet to be able to stay in the same stall. I tested that on a video I did months ago to see how long of an extension cable you needed. And I came up with 6 feet being the minimum of what you could get away with for some Porsche vehicles, for Lucid Airs, for my Lightning. So this 8-foot really does the trick, and it's only $100 more. And as I mentioned earlier, I do have a coupon code with them. It's State of Charge. If you want to buy this, even though I'm having a problem with it, my State of Charge discount code does give you 20% off. And that's a significant amount. It's like $145 off this cable. So instead of the $729, you're paying under $600 for it. It's still super expensive, so it better work. And it better work every time you use it, not just once in a while. So I'll get the other one. We'll test it out, and we'll go from there. But that's all I have here today on the Hansshow extension cable. It's not working, not at this moment, at least not the one that I got. And we'll do a follow-up video. Listen, if this is your first time here at State of Charge, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any upcoming electric vehicle news and reviews. And as always, thanks for watching.